following announcement has been paid for by the New World.
And then Smiley grabs the urn and he throws Pepe's wood shavings in
right in front of
Chavo's
the ref.
face.
That ref last time, I remember something happened right in front of him, and he looked up at the lights, so at least he pretended to not see it, but he didn't even turn away.
They don't even give a shit. Van Hammer is a spring water drinking hippie now. Finley just beat his ass. Right? Remember Dude Love and how cool he was, how charismatic he was, and how you wanted to see Dude Love on your TV screen? Now picture the exact opposite.
Maybe that was a direct competition for Dude Love. It's like, oh yeah, we got someone.
Kind of sad that they sacrificed Wrath to Bam Bam Bigelow.
Well, this is my favorite match on the card, just because...
Two big bastards.
Yeah, just two big dudes throwing ham hocks at each other. That's what I'm there for.
That's surprising. I thought you were going to say the dress entrants were decided by coin toss. Shivani said Ray was coming out second, and then he came out last. Shivani then suggested Ray won the coin toss, but then decided to come out later anyway. Couldn't just say he fucked up.
Of course, they gotta cover
Hogan
it up.
starts whipping David in front of Rick with his weightlifting belt.
It was funny though how Ric Flair, with each lashing, he was like, ah!
And they cut to the entrance ramp. Nothing happens. And Goldberg tases Hall. And then Bam Bam Bigelow appears and he beats up Goldberg. And Hall comes up from behind and tases them both. Well, moving on, we have WCW sold out in 1999. We're in Charleston, West Virginia. And we started off with a special report from Ric Flair. He's given us, I guess, a State of the Union address. Tells us that WCW is back in charge. And thanks to those that stayed loyal to WCW and opposed the NWO. He says that they're unified and they're the greatest wrestling company ever. And he doesn't stand alone. He'll continue to persevere against the NWO and anyone who challenges WCW. Then we have Mike Tenay, Tony Schiavone, and Bobby the Brain Heenan on commentary. So I guess Hogan and Nash are back together again, but WCW's stronger because of that. Don't know how that works out. Nash is still champion, by the way. And they say it's a night for revenge. Goldberg's facing Scott Hall. It's a taser ladder match, and someone's going to get tased for the match to end. Ric Flair's the president of WCW, and he's going to trot his kid out for a match. They try to get us excited for that. I wasn't. Saturn and Jericho are wrestling. The loser has to wear a dress. I don't know how this stipulation evaded me when I was doing the preview for this. But sure enough, Saturn and Jericho are wrestling for a loser wears a dress match. Then we have a four corners match for the Cruiserweight title, but we need to call the WCW hotline to talk about it, I guess. I don't know. And then there's a disturbance backstage. Cameras find Goldberg sitting on the floor, throwing chairs, and apparently he was holding his knee. Then we get Mike Enos versus Chris Benoit. Really physical match. Benoit, he really likes to start matches where they like grab onto each other and just start spinning around and aggressive tussling shit. And he blew snot on Enos. Enos spat on Benoit. Enos countered a crippler crossface attempt with a backbreaker, but he didn't capitalize. So Benoit hits two rolling German suplexes, diving headbutt, and it's the cool diving headbutt where he just falls, not the pretty diving headbutt that Gable does. Enos tries to fight back. Benoit locks in a crippler crossface for the tap out. It's probably the best match of the night.
I don't know. I liked another match better. But, yeah, this was hard hitting. I didn't know who that other guy was. Enos.
Yeah, I know the name. I think he was a tag team. I forget who he tagged with. And then we had a Goldberg Scott Hall hype video. They think this taser match is a good idea. That's what I gathered from that.
Was this the video where there was like no sound?
No, that was the later one.
That was a weird video package. The one with no sound.
It was a weird video package. It was like they copied off of Bray Wyatt. So up next we have Norman Smiley versus Chavo Guerrero Jr. Smiley comes out. He's carrying an urn that contains wood shavings. It's the wood shavings of Chavo's beloved pet horse, Pepe. And Chavo was sure pissed off about that. And he tried to fight, but Smiley out-wrestled the shit out of Chavo. There's a part where Smiley slapped Chavo on the ground and just started jiggling his tits like Luger. I thought that was funny. And the crowd loved Smiley's dancing. And he did a superplex, and then he sat up and started dancing, and then he did a back roll and did a proper dance on his feet. It was the weirdest fucking thing. Anytime Chavo did anything, Smiley would cut him off. Looking back at it, I think he beat the shit out of Chavo. Like, he had most of the offense.
Yeah,
of the
he
whole
did
match.
really control the match.
Smiley used the gory special as a sign of disrespect on Chavo. Of course, Chavo's uncle perfected that move. Chavo escaped. Smiley catches Chavo and just starts spanking him. And Chavo gets pissed off. He takes it to Smiley. Smiley goes for a crossface chicken wing. Chavo escaped that. He goes for a tornado DDT. Smiley blocked it. And then Smiley grabs the urn and he throws Pepe's wood shavings in
Right in front of
Chavo's
the
face.
ref, by the way. He didn't even like blink. That ref last time, I remember something happened right in front of him and he like looked up at the lights, so at least he pretended to not see it. But this, he didn't even turn away.
They don't even give a shit now. Well, Smiley locks in the crossface chicken wing for the tap out, and Chavo got to keep the urn after the match.
Yeah.
This would have been a great match if Smiley wouldn't do that damn dancing.
That's his go-to thing, I guess.
That's such an unfortunate thing that's what he has to do to get over. Because he was really good.
When he debuted against Ernest Miller, he was as bland as it can get. So he had to do something, that being the dance.
So shaking his ass is the way to go, huh?
I guess so.
We move on to the internet location. Fat fuck Mark Madden is talking to Conan. And I guess Conan is out of the wolf pack, and he vows to hunt them all down.
Yeah, seems like we missed quite a bit on the NWO story. Because now, like, the NWO is unified.
Yeah, that's really weird. Then we get Fit Finley versus Van Hammer. Van Hammer is a spring water drinking hippie now. And Finley just beat his ass. And then Van Hammer beat Finley's ass. And thankfully, Finley won the match with a tombstone. Van Hammer gave the crowd a thumbs up at one point, which made me want to get a ladder and slap him. I remember Dude Love and how cool he was, how charismatic he was, and how you wanted to see Dude Love on your TV screen.
Yes.
Now picture the exact opposite.
Yeah. Maybe that was a direct competition for Dude Love. It's like, oh, yeah, we got someone.
If I could pluck two people from different eras and team them together, it'd be Finley and Sheamus.
That would be a hard-hitting team.
Sure as shit would. So we get the Flairs in a Mr. Perfect Barry Windham hype video. It's all Arn Anderson's fault. So Mr. Perfect and Barry Windham, they're saying, Flair's leading this kid to the slaughter. How could he do that? Flair, he said, David's not ready. Arn Anderson said, the kid knows what he's doing. Let him wrestle. So it's Arn Anderson's fault. Keep that in mind. We have Wrath versus Bam Bam Bigelow. This is Bigelow's first pay-per-view since invading WCW around World War III. And yeah, this was a big man match. Wrath got his shit in. Bigelow got most of the offense. I like his little falling headbutt thing where he just immediately falls. Such a cool move.
Yep.
Wrath misses a corner move, and I guess he was supposed to hit the ring post. They were talking about it. They didn't bother to do a replay, so we'll just have to take their word for it. Bigelow won with a greetings from Ashbury Park. It's kind of sad that they sacrificed Wrath to Bam Bam Bigelow.
Well, this was my favorite match on the card. Just because...
Two big bastards. That's surprising. I thought you were going to say the dress match.
Yeah, just two big dudes throwing ham hocks at each other. That's what I'm there for.
That's respectable. I can see that. I was rooting for Wrath, but I'm just like, man, they didn't even say if he was undefeated yet at that point, did they?
No. I don't know if he was either.
Okay.
I know he was undefeated at some point.
So
because they were trying to reach Goldberg.
He was undefeated as of the last pay-per-view.
Okay. Yeah, they were trying the whole Goldberg thing.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, Bam Bam's established at this point.
Yeah.
Wrath's still trying to get his shit. Like, this is his first real, well, maybe not his first real, because he's been Adam Bomb and shit. I don't know. But not a bad match, yeah. So we have Conan versus Lex Luger. Conan lets us know that he's still pissed off at Nash and Luger before doing his catchphrases. So that was nice of him. And then Conan lists off a bunch of salad dressing types. And then he tells Luger to bow down, toss the salad, and peel his potatoes. Luger grabs the mic and he has something to say. He gave K-Dog a love tap as a wake-up call. And it doesn't have to go any further than that. Luger can just let Conan walk. He says, we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. And he says, there's an A team and a B team, Conan, and you just didn't make the A team. And Conan naturally chooses to fight Luger. And then, he takes it to Luger until he misses a clothesline. And then Luger starts softening up the back. Conan does his shit to Luger and then locks in the Tequila Sunrise. And Miss Elizabeth comes out with some black spray paint. Conan gets sprayed in the eyes. Miss Elizabeth runs away. Luger wins with a torture rack. And then Conan is helped to the back after that. Needs assistance walking after being sprayed. And then they argued about whether or not they sprayed paint in his eyes. They had to get a close-up. Oh, you can kind of see it.
Yeah, it was spray paint, but it was white.
I don't know about this one.
Probably wasn't their best outing.
And boy, did Miss Elizabeth just run away after the spray paint.
Yeah, she's just kind of there. I didn't even know who it was at first.
Oh, I did recognize those bazungas anyway.
Well, the way they shot it, it was like kind of down upwards. I was like, who is that?
Yeah,
is that Stacy Keebler?
No, she's coming though. I think Tori Wilson.
Oh no, yeah, that's what I thought it was. Tori Wilson. But yeah, turns out it wasn't. It was Miss Elizabeth.
Tori Wilson wishes. So we have Saturn versus Chris Jericho. Loser wears a dress. And it's fitting that Saturn got booked in this match after finally getting a real vest. That was nice.
Yep.
So Saturn's coming into this match having issues with the referee, Scott Dickinson. I'm sure that doesn't play into the outcome of this match at all. So Saturn and Jericho wrestled while Ralphus held a dress up. And then they had a pretty good match. Lots of back and forth. No shenanigans. Then Saturn and Jericho attempted their finishes. Jericho fights out of the Death Valley Driver. Saturn fights out of the Lion Tamer. Then Saturn gets Jericho in a small package. The ref blatantly flips them over. So Jericho is now pinning Saturn. Jericho wins. Jericho makes the ref hand Saturn the dress after slapping him. And sure enough, Saturn puts the dress on, and the ref tries to zip Saturn up, but he gets chased off, which I thought that was funny. Jericho, Ralphus, and the ref are on the floor. They're laughing, shaking hands. They were all in cahoots to fuck over Perry Saturn for some reason. And he then said the last bald person in a dress that he saw was Mean Gene Okerlund's sister, Trixie. Yeah. I thought it was funny that at the beginning of the match, Tenay said, just think about the implications this will have on the person who loses this match.
Yeah. Couldn't do that now, obviously. Or that'd be the next champion if he lost that match. He's so courageous.
Yeah. Stunning and brave. So we go back to the internet location. Some goober, not even Fat Fuck Madden, is talking to David Flair. Like he's not even worth Madden's time. He has to talk to some dude. David's wrestling for the respect from Ric Flair. Doesn't matter that he's 19. Doesn't matter that he's facing men twice his size. Doesn't even matter that he might get hurt during the match. David Flair wants to walk out as David, not just Ric Flair's son. And he said that in the most uninteresting, uninspiring way possible. Moving on, we have Billy Kidman versus Juventud Guerrera versus Psychosis versus Rey Mysterio Jr. in a 4 corners match for the Cruiserweight title. The entrants were decided by coin toss. Shivani said Rey was coming out second, and then he came out last. Shivani then suggested Rey won the coin toss, but then decided to come out later anyway. Couldn't just say he fucked up.
Of course, they got to cover it up.
So they're playing this like a tag match for some reason. Kidman and Mysterio have a good exchange. Juventud and Psychosis are heels. They were forced to fight each other. Then they shook hands and literally hugged. There's a part, Psychosis did something, and then Juvi just kind of sits up and goes, that was good. And then they tag for the other guys, and they just refuse. And then Kidman and Rey just start double teaming the heels. Kidman becomes the legal man without even tagging. And then the bad guys double team Kidman. Then they double team Kidman and Mysterio. Then they fight over who's going to do acai moonsaults on the floor. The tags become, I can just hit you. And that works. And then it just stops mattering. The commentary even said so. And then Kidman ended up winning with a shooting star press after a bunch of flips and bullshit. It got really ridiculous. Like they just started taking turns diving.
Well, that's the cruiserweight.
That's true. We're back at the internet location. Booker T is talking to Fat Fuck Madden, and it's about the Jericho Saturn match. Well, Jericho interrupted Booker calls him out. Jericho challenges Booker to a match at Nitro, calls him Mr. T. Booker tells Jericho to bring his bubblegum. And then we have the match of the evening. Barry Windham and Mr. Perfect versus Ric Flair and David Flair. Windham and Perfect are part of, I didn't know what the fuck the situation was. I thought it was Hogan and Mr. Perfect and Barry Windham at this point. Ric Flair comes out and he just grabs a chair. Then he grabs a mic, tells the bad guys to come get in one time. And then Flair tosses the mic at Mr. Perfect, and Perfect catches the mic one-handed, which I thought was badass. He says when they're done with Flair, they're going to whip his boy, too. And Perfect demands Arn Anderson leave ringside. Arn Anderson doesn't. And Mr. Perfect is like, oh, it's fine with me. What else is he going to do? And Flair says, unless you want to work for the WWF or some other joint, you better get in here and wrestle. And then Windham gets the mic because there's not enough talking. And he says, if David's a real man, he'll start the match with him. Well, then the match finally starts. And David Flair out-wrestles Barry fucking Windham.
Naturally.
And Flair struts about it. Windham and David do a test of strength. David ends up hip-tossing Windham and unloading with chops. Keeping in mind that the size disparity is just like Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair.
Yeah, Windham was a big dude.
And it's also worth noting that Barry Windham is a fucking former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, amongst other champions and accolades that he has. Flair gets in, he wrestles most of the match. David stood on the apron, breathing through his mouth, looking uninterested. I love Wyndham's superplex. When he does the superplex, he does this little backflip into a pin. It's so fucking awesome. Windham and Perfect double team Flair. David tries to help, but the referee won't let him. And then Perfect and Arn Anderson get into it on the floor.
He kind of just stood on the apron the whole time.
Well, he got in the ring, and then the referee backed him into the corner. That's when Perfect and Arn Anderson started getting into it on the floor. And then Flair gets Windham into the figure four. Perfect manages to fight Anderson off, which is good. He saves Windham. Windham and Perfect start double teaming Flair. David comes up from behind Perfect and kicks him in the balls. And Perfect just turns around and he just starts beating David's ass. And he goes for the Perfect Flex. Meanwhile, the referee starts screaming at Ric Flair for no reason, tells him he's not the legal man. He was. Anderson comes up behind Perfect and hits him with a tire iron mid-Perfect Plex. The tire iron just so happened to be lying around, I guess. David Flair falls on top of Mr. Perfect and gets the pin. David immediately stands up like nothing happened. Same stupid fucking expression on his face. Black and white NWO come out and beat the shit out of Ric Flair and Arn Anderson. Benoit comes out. He comes out just to get his ass whooped. Red and black NWO come out with Hogan, who's still wearing a black. I'm really confused. He's still wearing a black and white NWO shirt.
His bandana had red on it too.
Oh, did it? Jesus.
So I said, I guess they've merged now.
Why wouldn't they just wear one shirt?
I'm sure the weekly television made sense of all that.
We love you like brothers, but we just can't wear your colors.
Yeah, it's very confusing because, some of them were wearing the black and white, some of them were wearing the red and black, and then Hogan had both.
Of course he did. Well, the NWO circled David Flair and start teasing him. David attacks Hogan, and he gets his ass beat too. Then Hogan starts whipping David in front of Rick with his weightlifting belt. Then Hogan spray paints Eazy-E on David's back. The crowd chants for Sting for some reason. Isn't Sting part of the NWO Wolfpack?
He was, yeah.
I guess in my mind, okay, Sting's still part of the Wolfpack, so what, is he going to come out to help?
Or maybe he had turned again. I don't know. That Sting was always in and out.
All right. So NWO beat on David some more. Like 3 men at once punch him in the face. Hogan says, "I love you, Eric," in the camera. Then they throw David into Flair's embrace so they can hug. And then they drag him back in the middle of the ring and whip him some more. Miss Elizabeth was also there.
Yes, just standing on the apron, watching it all.
Yes.
It was funny, though, how Ric Flair, with each lashing, he was like, ah!
David! That was the only time he really seemed to give a shit about his son.
Yeah. So, he got his ass beat by the whole NWO. And for an uncomfortable long time.
I just like the three men punching punching a 19-year-old kid at once.
Yeah, and then you got Scott Norton picking him up. It's like, oh shit, what's he doing? What's he doing? I thought he was gonna like snap his neck.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he's gonna kill him.
Oh,
Yeah.
just by accident, shit. Fucking Lenny.
With that tongue sticking out. You know, when Norton got that tongue out, he's doing some work.
Well, after that, we get a weird video. Goldberg's tased and then jumped by the NWO. Then they tag Goldberg with spray paint and tase him some more. There was absolutely no sound.
Yes.
And then we get Scott Hall versus Bill Goldberg. It's a ladder match for a taser. It's no pinfall, no submission, no disqualification. The ref has been instructed to award victory instantly to the first man who zaps his opponent with the stun gun. So Hall gets on the mic. He says he has good news and he has bad news. Good news is we get to see someone who's 6'6" and hotter than 10 movie stars put together. Scott Hall. Then Goldberg found out that they have a match, and Goldberg peed himself and slipped in it, and now he has a boo-boo on his knee. So the bad news is Goldberg ain't coming out tonight. So he asked the referee to raise his hand. Buffer apologizes for Hall's false announcement, and out comes Goldberg. And Goldberg's wearing a knee brace and starts off with Goldberg outpowering Hall while commentary touched themselves. Like, Goldberg's the best ever. You see Goldberg work out the other day? Sweat dripping off his brow. Goldberg's knee gives out and Hall starts targeting it, and he starts using the ladder on Goldberg, but Goldberg stops him from climbing to retrieve the taser. Somewhere in the process, Goldberg gets busted open, and he knocks Hall off the ladder one time and starts climbing on it with one leg. Disco Inferno comes out, pushes Goldberg off the ladder, retrieves Hall. Hall gets the taser, but Goldberg's able to knock the taser out of Hall's hands. The taser goes sailing out of the ring. I thought Disco disappeared because Goldberg with one leg is able to crawl out of the ring and get the taser. But no, he was there and he got tased first. And he's useless because he had plenty of time to get that fucking taser. And then Goldberg starts fucking with Hall, and he tosses the taser in the air. He hits a spear, a jackhammer. Then he retrieves the taser from the mat. And they cut to the entrance ramp. Nothing happens. And Goldberg tases Hall. And then Bam Bam Bigelow appears, and he beats up Goldberg. And Hall comes up from behind and tases them both. And that was the end for me. It just ended with Hall tasing the shit out of Bam Bam Bigelow and Goldberg.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. He was tasing them, and then, they were each letting out pain noises as they were getting tased. And then, that's kind of it. A weird triangle this is. So you have Bam Bam, who's after Goldberg, and Scott Hall's kind of a innocent bystander in all this. Like, he's still trying to get even with Bam Bam.
Oh, yeah, Bam Bam beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, that night he came back.
Oh, okay. I thought he just tased him for no reason.
No, it's from that. So he's trying to get even or whatever. Yeah, it's just a weird little triangle. I would assume they're heading for a triple threat match at some point that Goldberg will win.
Yeah, I can't imagine why Goldberg would. Bam Bam definitely ain't winning. Yeah. I don't remember a big Bam Bam run. But we do have Super Brawl 9 after this one. It's in Oakland, California. The main event is Ric Flair versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan for the World Heavyweight title. Of course it is, after what they did to his boy. We also have Barry Windham.
I thought you said Nash was the champion.
I would assume this is when the finger poke of doom happened.
Oh, no.
But we have Barry Windham and Mr. Perfect versus Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko, which should be the very definition of a banger.
Get your wrestling notebooks out for that one.
And boy, have they done Mr. Perfect dirty.
Yeah.
Just when you think they can't desecrate him anymore, they let him lose to Ric Flair's son.
Yep.
But before Super Brawl 9, we have WrestleMania 38, Night 1. And this took place at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. This is the fourth WrestleMania to be held in Texas. WrestleMania X7, 25 and 32 were the other ones. I think at least two of them were in Houston. The last WrestleMania to take place under Vince McMahon's creative control following his retirement. McMahon had served as chairman and chief executive officer of the company since '82. and created WrestleMania in 1985. And although he returned in the company as executive chairman in 2023, he had no involvement in booking the event. McMahon's involvement with the event in any capacity would come to an end following a lawsuit in January 2024. So the card was comprised of a total of 16 matches, 7 on the first night, 9 on the second. An impromptu match that served as the last match for night 1, Stone Cold Steve Austin faced Kevin Owens in a no-holds-barred match. This was marking Austin's first match since WrestleMania 14, I think it was. And this was the final match of his career overall so far. This encounter was originally advertised as a special edition of Owens' KO show with Austin as the special guest. Other prominent matches saw a returning Cody Rhodes face Seth frickin' Rollins.
I believe this is our last WrestleMania.
Thank Christ, because they've just gotten worse.
But yeah, projects that we've went through, and now it's over. Our next project will be EC Dub, which will be an interesting watch itself. Finding it's going to be interesting.
I'll help you with that.
I can't be watching it on Peacock. I know if I watch it on Peacock, it's going to be like a
New Jack won't even be on it.
And none of the music is going to be on it. Yeah, I got to watch it somewhere else.